Hello everybody and welcome back to Magna Carta 2. After learning a little bit about our battle system and coming out to Abazet field, we are now going to do some side questing. It's going to be a bit of a side questing extravaganza. We're going to start by talking to this soldier here, who in the last video had asked us to defeat some poison worms, and he had taught us a little bit about poison and antidotes and whatnot. For completing his quest, you get 400 experience, 300 Sid, as well as a Ring of Detoxification. If you go ahead and equip that, it will ward off poison, which may or may not be useful depending on where you are. Over here, we have to talk to this gentleman, who is part of the Merchants Guild. He is the staff member that we were asked to escort. We had talked to one of the staff members in the last video within the city who was asking us to escort this guy as part of a quest. So when you're ready, speak to him and tell him that you're all good to go. And then the game will just remind you that if you move to another area while escorting him, or you save and load while in the middle of the quest, you will fail it. And additionally, if the staff member dies, you will also fail it. So it's good just to do this quest in one go. And I have already taken the liberty of clearing out most of the enemies off the field at this point, just to make this voyage a little bit easier, and I was doing a little bit of grinding off screen. If you're leading this guy through the field and there are enemies, if you don't enter combat mode, you can probably just run right through the enemies. You're a lot faster than they are. And if you are going to engage in combat, I wouldn't worry too much about it, because the majority of the enemies over here are worms, and worms are one of the weaker variant of enemies that you can find at this time. But it is a lot easier to clear the path before starting this, because as you can see, it's a fairly short journey, and he doesn't have a scratch on him, and if he makes it safe and sound, you can then finish up that quest. And of course, if you fail that quest, you'll mess up the 100% completion for the game, so you want to make sure to do this quest right. You get 400 experience, 800 Sid, and a belt of magic power. And then at the mine here, this little makeshift camp, we do have 4 quests to accept. The first one is going to be for hunting what are called Phongs. I don't think we ran into Phongs yet, but they're an enemy with incredibly high evasion, so we need to try and inflict them with vertigo. And he's asking us to kill 3 of them. And they look like this. I think that they are just adorable. I don't know what kind of creature they are, but they just have the cutest little faces, in my opinion. If we talk to this guild staff member over here, we're going to accept a quest that we are going to finish later. This will be the last quest that we take care of before we head back into the city. He's asking us to rescue one of his friends who has been held hostage by the werewolves. Now, we've been asked to hunt the werewolves as our main story objective. So once we go in and infiltrate their hideout, we will rescue this guy, and we'll be able to go to the Merchants Guild in Abazet and claim our reward for that a little bit later. So just keep that in mind. By talking to the soldier, you get another quest. This one is for Crocell. He's gonna want him to generate some fire con, which you do by using one of Crocell's special abilities or simply by attacking. And for doing this, we're gonna get a pretty nice reward in the end, so we'll want to make sure to do that. We should be able to get this naturally through fighting, but if not, we can use Crocell's Fire Tap ability, which I may not be showing off. It drains his HP when he uses it, so I don't really like to use it unless I'm in a really tight situation. Pick up that treasure chest, and then we're going to talk to this last fella here, who's going to give us a quest to do what is called a soul extraction. this is something that only Zephie can do, and we're able to extract the soul of an enemy when they are on the brink of death. So we'll be demonstrating that out on the field. We only need to do one soul extraction, which is kind of nice because it's a very hit and miss type technique. Alrighty, so that's all our quests for the time being. We also get a little bit of cube mail sent to us. Zephie will tell us a little bit about soul extraction if you want to read about that, a little bit about Phongs, and a couple of things about commons. Now, we haven't really learned a lot about commons yet, but we will. They're essentially augments, if you want to put it into simple terms. And they're very useful in this game, and we will probably be swapping out commons quite often once we learn how to fully utilize them. Okay, so I'm going to probably switch to Zephie at this point, and we've come across our first little group of Phongs here. So using Zephie, what you want to do is attack the Phongs, and by continuously attacking, what you hope to do is inflict vertigo on the enemy. Now, once the Phongs are inflicted with vertigo, their evasion status is affected, so they're a lot slower, and because they're not so fast to outrun you, you're able to kill them effectively. Unfortunately, you couldn't really see that battle much. I apologize, it kind of got run into the bushes there. But we've seen vertigo before. We saw it when we were doing our battle at Highwind Island. Zephie had kind of warned us about the wizards being able to inflict vertigo upon us, which you can clear up with lozenges. There's also a treasure chest in between the R and the E, in between the word wild forest, with a couple of commons in it. So what we need to do now is go on the hunt for a couple of more Phongs. We need to kill one more Phong, and we still need to do our soul extraction as well as generate Crocell's 6 fire con. So unfortunately in that first batch of Phongs there's only 2, and so we need to go quite a ways in order to find more Phongs. Now these ones just seem to kind of drop out of the ceiling out of nowhere, so that's perfect. We'll use these guys to farm our last Phong kill. And you don't have to be Zephie in order to do this, but sometimes it's a little bit easier if you can control her attacks yourself. So as you can see, when it's not inflicted with vertigo, it will only do 1 damage to the Phong, but when it is, it's about the same level as any other enemy, and it will take lots of damage. So this is a very hit and miss type thing. You may or may not be able to inflict vertigo on the enemy. It's just going to take some time. So just practice using your different party members. Practice using Zephie. Practice getting a feel for how often you need to attack with her to make sure she doesn't go into overdrive, you know, things like that. We were also able to do our soul extraction, and it was kind of explained a little bit by the guild member who had given us the quest. What you need to do is press B near an enemy when it's very close to dying. Zephie will do a soul extraction, and this will allow you to also extract commons out of their body. So it's kind of a nice ability if you are wanting to get a couple of commons for free. However, it's very uncommon. You don't get to use it a whole lot, and I won't be using it a lot as time goes on. Now, the very last thing we need to do is try and get Crocell's con up to 6, which may be difficult at this point. The Phongs are actually a very good enemy to also try and get Crocell's con up to 6, because if you are unable to inflict vertigo upon them, and they're only taking 1 damage, Crocell can keep attacking, and he's able to build up that con without killing the enemy. I may be able to use Fire Tap now that I have him as my active member, and if I am able to use it, we can show what that looks like. Fire Tap is of course his special ability, just like Judo's is Counter, and Zephie's is Soul Extraction. That doesn't seem to be working at the moment. Now you can see I have 3 con, but unlike Judo's con, which is Strength con, it's not going to stay. If Crocell doesn't keep accumulating con, it will disappear if it's not used. So you just need to keep attacking in order to generate con. And remember that if you use one of his abilities, that will also use up con. So while you're trying to generate con, you don't want to use any of the special attacking abilities using X, you just want to attack using A. Now fortunately there, I was just able to generate enough con by attacking, and it does take a little while, especially with wizards like Zephie and Crocell, but you can do it. Here's an example of Crocell's Fire Tap. You can see there that I lose HP, but he's able to get his con up quite quickly. I don't use that a lot unless I really need to, just because in most situations it's really not worth losing the HP. In my opinion anyways. Some people may find that ability to be very, very useful, and to each their own. With that, I do believe we have finished everything that has been asked of us, which is wonderful. We made pretty good time. Sometimes defeating those Phongs can take a lot longer than anticipated. But we did pretty good today. We'll be getting lots of experience and lots of gold after turning in these quests. And I do recommend saving all of the gold that you get from quests, because we will be able to buy some new weapons after we defeat the werewolf leader. Unfortunately, until you finish your first big quest, the merchants in Abazet aren't going to be available to you. But because we've been doing so many quests, we should be able to buy some more decent equipment later on if you're finding that you want a little bit more firepower. And me personally right now, because I have DLC weapons, I can actually equip them on my characters. Everybody with the exception of Judo at the moment has a very strong DLC weapon that I can equip to them. As you can see, this would give me an absolutely huge advantage if I were to equip it, and I will probably end up equipping these to grind, just to make the grinding time a little bit less. But I'll try not to equip them throughout the playthrough, just because I don't want to feel like I'm cheating or anything like that. I know sometimes in certain games, if I do have the advantage, I'll try and use it, but sometimes that really confuses people, so I'll try not to do that. We're going to turn in these quests now. For defeating the Phongs, we get 250 experience and 150 Sid. If we tell this guy here that we were able to generate enough fire con, he's going to give us the Earring of Red Sparrow and 300 experience. That accessory allows you to be resistant to the burn status, I do believe. So again, it can be useful if you need it in a certain situation. And finally, for our soul extraction, we're able to gain 250 experience and 200 Sid. So with that, it's going to bring our party up to level 10. And so I'll probably grind a little bit more. I would probably recommend being around level 11 or 12 before you go up against the werewolf boss. And we have finished all the quests that need to be done at the moment. So what I'm going to do is save at the pillar, and in the next video we're going to go after the werewolf boss. Thank you for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time.